Next thing I want to talk about is the impeachment of Joe Biden. Good old President Biden. What's going on with this story here? Well, the Republicans have opened up an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. What does that actually mean? That means that they are too chicken shit to actually have a vote to impeach Joe Biden. But they've just opened up an inquiry instead. So what is actually going on here, right? Long story short, the Republicans don't have shit on Joe Biden. And they have been trying to damage him politically for the last 2.5 years. And the only thing that they've been able to find on him is that his son, Hunter Biden, is a fuck up. The only thing that the Republicans have found on Joe Biden is that Hunter Biden is a screw-up and a drug addict and has maybe done some bad stuff, but they don't actually have any real proof that he's done any bad stuff. So they can't really do anything about it. And they've decided, instead of actually trying to find some evidence that Joe Biden has done something wrong or illegal, they're going to go through this sort of flim-flam kabuki theater in order to just get it into the public's heads that Joe Biden is a crook without any actual proof. And that's why they're going to have this inquiry instead of an actual vote to impeach Joe Biden. See, here's the thing, right? One of the favorite methods of the GOP in particular is to use things like congressional hearings and stuff like that in order to push their agendas, right? If you remember back during the Obama years, there were multiple hearings about Benghazi, and they would spend 3 weeks having hearings about Benghazi, and then it would conclude, and they would find that there was actually nothing wrong and that nobody did anything criminal. And then they'd have another inquiry into Benghazi, and then that would conclude. And then they'd have another one and another one and another investigation. And what was the point of all these investigations that never actually went anywhere? It was to, for all intents and purposes, smear Hillary Clinton. To smear her, right? So they would drag her in front of Congress, and she'd sit there and spend 8 hours talking to Congress. And then they wouldn't find anything, and they wouldn't be able to arrest her. And then that would be done. And then another guy would drag her in front of it again. And then they would talk to the news, constantly going in front of the news. We're going to find out the truth, and we're going to hold her accountable, and all this wrong. We're going to find the evidence of wrongdoing. And they would never have anything at all. And there would be no prosecutions. There'd be no jail time. Nobody would go to prison. Nothing like that. And it was like, well, why? Why are they doing it? They're doing it for political reasons. And that's essentially what they're trying to do now with basically Joe Biden, is that they're trying to Benghazi him. But they don't have anything. They don't have a Benghazi in order to smear him with. The closest thing they have is that Hunter smoked crack a couple times and, like, you know, lied about buying a gun. You know, lied about the fact that he was a crack addict when he bought a gun. And that was it. That's all they've got, right? So they're just using what they've got. And this inquiry then is to find the evidence that Joe Biden did something wrong. But see, here's the thing. You may remember that they just spent the last 6 months in hauling people in front of Congress, whistleblowers and shit like that, trying to find anything that Joe Biden did that was illegal connected to Hunter Biden. And they didn't find shit. There was no evidence of wrongdoing. Because here's the thing, if there's evidence of wrongdoing, then they can, evidence of a law being broken, then they can recommend to the DOJ that there should be prosecutions, right? Have they done that? Have they recommended to the DOJ that anybody should be prosecuted for any of Hunter Biden's business dealings with people in China or Burisma or anything like that at all. No. In fact, they humiliated themselves a couple of times. I seem to remember a whistleblower who ended up being a fugitive, if I remember that right. They basically came up with jack shit. So what are they doing? They're just proceeding with it anyway. They're going to proceed with the inquiry into impeachment. Because here's the thing about it. It's a little bit of power play going on, right? Because the insane sort of right-wing, like MAGA wacky nuts crowd of the GOP, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Matt Gaetzes, those people, the Louis Gohmerts, those assholes, they want to impeach. Basically, they want to impeach Joe Biden for anything. And they want to do it as a form of revenge for Donald Trump being prosecuted. They think that this is like what, their constituents want. Their constituents want us to hold Biden accountable. The Biden crime family. How many times have you heard them say that shit? Right? We're holding the Biden crime family accountable. Right? But they don't have any evidence of anything. So they have to just make it up as they go along. Right? That's the first thing. And then the other side, the Kevin McCarthy side, is saying if we do this, it's going to make us look like fools. If we try to impeach him and we don't have shit, it's going to backfire. Why? Because that's what happens when you try to basically use the government in order to further your own political aims, is that it backfires. That's what happens when they try to impeach Bill Clinton for getting a blowjob. Oh, excuse me. Lying in front of a judge, committing perjury, right? People didn't go for it. Why? Because it was bullshit, and everybody knew it was bullshit. They knew that the real reason is because they were just trying to get rid of Bill Clinton so that they could fucking smear him before the election or whatever. And it didn't work. It backfired. Bill Clinton got reelected, and so on, right? They also know that people don't buy it as well. They also know when someone actually does commit a crime and gets away with it because of political reasons. Like, for example, the first and even second impeachment of Donald Trump. Let's not. What was the first impeachment of Donald Trump about, right? It was Donald Trump calling up Zelensky in Ukraine. This is before the invasion and all that stuff. And trying to extort him, withholding aid, military aid, that was already approved by Congress. And what Trump wanted in return is that he wanted Zelensky to not even open an investigation into Burisma and Joe Biden. He wanted him to announce that there was an investigation. They didn't actually want there to be an investigation. They didn't care if there actually was an investigation. They just wanted him to announce that there was one. Why? Because then they could use it in their ads against Joe Biden in the upcoming election. And that's what it was. People got pissed at that. When they tried to impeach him for that. They tried to impeach Trump for that, and it didn't work. Because the Republicans in the Senate were too chicken shit to pull the lever on that, to actually do the right thing. And that contributed to Donald Trump losing the election. Yes, it did. Because when people see blatant corruption like that, they tend to not forget it. Right? When people see that somebody using the levers of government in order to basically seal their access to power, right? When people see that, when people see the blatant corruption, it pisses people off. And yeah, okay, maybe the Republicans didn't, maybe that actually did turn some Republicans, maybe it didn't. What it does do is that it motivates the people who would be against you to come out and vote. People don't forget that shit. And this is what'll happen now. If they try to impeach Joe Biden, people are going to be like, this is bullshit. He didn't do anything wrong. Do you have evidence that he did anything wrong? No. Then it's not going to work, and it'll just make people come out against you even harder. Kevin McCarthy knows that, so he doesn't actually want to have a vote on impeachment because he knows it's going to backfire. He knows if he does that, it's over. And it's like he basically is handing the election to Joe Biden if he does that. So he's been between a rock and a hard place because he has to appease these fucking insane people, these MAGA chuds, these fucking morons. He's got to appease those assholes, right? Or else they're gonna like depose him or whatever. You know, they're gonna vote to get rid of him as speaker. So he's kind of fucked. So his compromise is to have, we'll just have an inquiry. Because he's too chicken shit. And it's like, now I'm reading stories about how Matt Gaetz is now openly saying that we should get rid of Kevin McCarthy and all this other shit. Blah, 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 right? And it's just great when these assholes eat their own. And, you know, good, let them fight. I hope they fight forever and bicker and all this other crap. In the meantime, you know, the government is about to shut down and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are about to lose lots of money because of that. Not just government employees, but people getting benefits. VA hospitals is going to get fucked up, and then how long before Social Security checks stop coming out, and like, you know, Medicaid, all these kinds of things. This is what's at risk right now while these motherfuckers are sitting there playing their own personal version of Game of Thrones. So that's fucking bullshit. I did want to show you guys one thing regarding this. This is a briefing that the GOP has given. Let's bring this over here. This is only 3 minutes long, so I think we can watch this. Let's turn on my thing here. I don't want to make this full screen. Well, it's the government, right? I don't know. Well, I am using it from Forbes here, so we'll just keep that nice and small so I don't get gigged. And let's listen to the House Republican leadership hold their weekly press briefing in which they justify this stupid bullshit and try to convince us that they're not wasting our time and money.
Good morning. Welcome back. I hope you all had a productive August. We certainly did as House Republicans, and we're ready to get back to work this September. Yesterday, as you know, Speaker McCarthy announced House Republicans' intention to pursue an impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden. This is about transparency and answers for the American people, and ultimately accountability for what I believe will uncover the biggest political corruption scandal in our nation's history. For the past 8 months, through the course of our
Now, keep that in mind, what you just said, will uncover, right? What does that mean? That means they don't actually have evidence of the, quote, biggest political corruption scandal in American history. They don't actually have that evidence after 6 months of one congressional hearing after another of supposed whistleblowers about Hunter Biden's dealings in China and Ukraine, so on and so forth. After all of that, remember, millions of dollars have been spent already on these congressional hearings, right? This shit is not cheap. Okay. After all of that, they still don't actually have any evidence. They don't actually have any evidence of the supposed scandal. So now this is what the inquiry is all about. We're going to find the evidence, right? Kind of sounds like they're looking, it's not just a fishing expedition, but they're actually looking to have the impeachment and come up with the reason later. That's kind of what it sounds like, doesn't it? I mean, if you had the evidence already, if you knew that there was a corruption, right, and you could point it out to people, why are you wasting time? Why not just have a vote, impeach him, and get rid of it? Do you actually have any? If you actually have evidence, then I'm for it. Then I want to see it. I want to see the goddamn evidence, please, right? How do you show us the evidence that you have, right? You have a trial. That's what impeachment trials are supposed to be. Like, the House votes to impeach, then the Senate votes to, you have a trial in the Senate. And then the Senate, you have to get 75% of the senators. And then, Kamala Harris becomes the president. Right? That's what so let's see it. Just remember, right? After all this time and money, they don't have a goddamn thing. Let's continue.
Constitutional oversight duties, House Republicans have uncovered that Joe Biden has lied to the American people about his knowledge and involvement in his family's foreign business dealings, and that he has potentially committed multiple impeachable offenses. House Republicans' investigations have uncovered...
No, they haven't, by the way. They have not uncovered anything of the kind like that at all, right? What they've uncovered is that Hunter Biden uses his family name to get rich. Kind of the same way that Ivanka does. Kind of the same way that Jared Kushner does. Kind of like that. They've uncovered the fact that Hunter Biden is basically a nepotism child who has said, hey, my dad is the vice president, and give me money. Give me money because my dad is the vice president. And it's like what they've seen stuff like he would call up Joe Biden on the phone, and Joe Biden, he didn't even know that there were other people in the room, and he would call up his dad and be like, hey dad, how you doing? And then Joe Biden would be like, hey son, how's it going, son? And remember that Joe Biden's other kid just kicked the bucket not that long ago, so he was trying to maintain a good relationship with his son or whatever. Hunter would be in a room with investors and stuff saying see, I've got access to him. I can call him anytime I want, blah, blah, blah. So you better give me money, right? You better hire me on. You better give me money and shit like that, or else you're going to lose that access. That's what he was doing. But there's evidence that Joe Biden was, taking kickbacks or whatever. No, they do not have that. And don't believe them if they say they do, because they don't, right? Now, if you listen to what this woman's saying, it makes it sound like they've got it in the bag. Oh, well, where's the receipts? Show me the transcripts of your, let me hear your phone calls, right? Let me listen to your witnesses, shit like that. You had your opportunity to show us all this shit over the last 6 or 8 months, where all these fucking, hearings in front of the House, one after another, and you didn't show any of it. So where the fuck is it, huh? They don't have it. Let's continue.
The evidence showing Joe Biden repeatedly lied to the American people about his knowledge and involvement with his son's foreign business dealings. When Joe Biden was vice president, he joined... They don't have that, by the way. They don't have any evidence at all. Vice president, he joined dozens of Hunter Biden's business meetings by phone and in person. Detailed banking records show that the Biden family and their business...
Yes, he did. Him joining these calls is what I just said. They amount to basically Hunter Biden calling him and putting him on speakerphone, and Joe Biden having no idea that there were other people in the room. Joe Biden at no time ever even addresses people that his son is doing business with, and he never actually says anything like, yes, give my son money and you've got access to me. He never actually says that. All right. It's bullshit. She's really basically lying her ass off right here. This is what she's saying is a lie, right? They don't have this evidence. Continuing on.
Business associates received $20 million in payments from foreign actors in places like Russia, China, Ukraine, and Romania, including payments during Joe Biden's time as vice president. More than 100...
Yes, this is true. How much of that did Joe Biden get, by the way? See, she's saying, oh, his family got money, i.e. Hunter got some money. And no one's denying that. No one's denying that Hunter used his, basically, connections to the president in order to sell himself and get on the board of these various companies, right? The kind of the same way that Ivanka and Jared did the same thing. Remember Jared Kushner basically using his connections in government in order to personally enrich himself to the tune of $2 billion from the Saudi royal family. That kind of thing. Yeah, Hunter did that. How much of that went to Joe Biden? How much did Joe Biden have involvement in that, right? Not very much. Not anything that they've managed to prove that he was aware of or connected to at all. She's lying to you, right to your face. Just want to emphasize this woman is lying. Continue.
150 transactions involving the Biden family and other business associates were flagged as suspicious activity by U.S. banks. And a highly credible FBI source alleges that Joe Biden received $5 million in exchange for pressuring for the firing of a Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating the Ukrainian natural gas firm that Hunter Biden was on the board of, Burisma.
Yeah, okay, that is bullshit, by the way. There's zero evidence that Joe Biden got money for that. So what is that all about, right? There was a prosecutor that got fired for in connection to Burisma. So that is true. What happened is that the United States, right, the State Department pressured for this guy to get fired. The reason why they pressured this guy to get fired is because he was not investigating Burisma. He wasn't doing his job. They wanted him to investigate Burisma for corruption. He wasn't doing it. And that's why they said, hey, this guy should get fired. They didn't pressure to fire him because he was investigating Hunter Biden, because at the time, Hunter Biden was not part of the board of Burisma. This happened before Hunter joined the board of Burisma. That's what this is. And this little talking point here has been debunked for years now. Literally years. This little, oh, they pressured this guy to get fired because he was no. For literally like 5 years now, since this whole thing with fucking Burisma ever like hit the news, it's been debunked that no, Joe Biden did not use the State Department to pressure to get this guy fired for investigating his son. This guy was fired before his son was ever connected to the company. And the reason why they pressured to get his ass fired is because the dude wasn't doing his job. The guy was basically corrupt. The guy was not investigating this company in the first fucking place. It's 100% lie, and it's a lie that's been debunked so many goddamn times. But you ever notice that from Republicans and conservatives? They just repeat shit over and over and over. It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't have to be true. The same way that Donald Trump will just repeat the same fucking lie. Oh, it was a perfect phone call. Over and over and over. This phone call was perfect. The phone call was perfect. Over and over and over. It's all it's all a hoax, the Russia hoax. It just repeats the same fucking lie over and over and over. Well, what happens when somebody hears something 9,000 fucking times, right? When when every like news station that you go to and every like, social media thing that you go to is telling you the same fucking lie over and over and over again. People believe it because they hear it over and over and over. All it really takes is like you just have to repeat something 3 times and then someone will be likely to remember it. That's like why if you see advertisements for anything, they repeat the name of the product at least 3 times in every advertisement. Why do they do that? Because then it sticks in your mind. Then you remember it. Right? This is what it is. It's just that sort of repetition literally fucking brainwashes people. And that's why this woman can stand up. This person here is a House rep. Who is this person again? Stefanik, right? She's a House rep, right? What state is she from? Let me just go take a look as a bit of a, let's see, House rep Stefanik, right? Where is she from? Congresswoman Elsie Stefanik, New York 21st Congressional District. Is that where she's from? She's from she's from New York. So she's from New York, right? This woman can get up. She's a fucking House rep, congressperson. This person makes laws for people, just like Lauren Boebert. This person makes laws. She votes on laws. What she votes on affects millions of people in this country, and she's just standing up in front of the entire country for 400 million people and lying her fucking ass off. Is anybody going to point out the fact that this bitch just lied to the entire country? Am I going to go tomorrow and look at the newspaper or read like a website and see like, House rep, Republicans lie like crazy? Is it going to... No, there will be nothing to the effect of that. No one will say anything. They will get no heat for that whatsoever. There will be no blowback, no consequences for getting up and lying their ass off like that. And repeating stuff they know which is not true. What she just said was not... I just want to point that out. I just want everybody to... you should get angry, right? Why are people not getting angry when politicians lie straight to their face? Is it because they just do it so fucking often? Is that what it is? Is that does Republicans lie so much that everybody expects it? You don't even bat an eye at it anymore? Is that what it is? Do you just feel like, oh, we can't do anything about it anyway, so might as well fuck it, who cares? No, folks. That's what's wrong with the country. Get angry, for fuck's sake. Get angry and do something about it. Go out there, organize, donate your time, donate your money, vote these motherfuckers out of office. It'll never change if you don't vote, folks. 1 minute left. Let's continue on.
These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption, and they warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives, which is why the Speaker has directed the House committees to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Biden. The American people deserve transparency.
Why don't you have it already? How many investigations has there been into Joe Biden already? Like, what, 15? Right? I mean, there's been at least one in the Congress that I know of. In the Senate, they've had, like, you know, whistleblowers and shit get up and say a bunch of crap. There's been at least 3 in the House. How come you don't have it already? Right? Where's the evidence that all of the... I mean, this is what Congress does, right? This is what the House does, is that they investigate things, right? They've been investigating Joe Biden since before he became fucking president. So why don't they have the evidence already? I mean, how long is it going to fucking take? The reason why they don't have it is because there isn't any evidence. And the reason why they're doing this inquiry is because that way it gets a nice, big, congressional scandal going right before the election. I'm not saying Democrats aren't guilty of doing this too. They are. There's a reason why a lot of the Trump indictments waited until now, for example. There's a reason for that. It's because that way the trials are going to be happening right during 2024, right when he's running in the primaries and stuff. That's no accident. Okay. So I'm not saying that, the Democrats aren't blameless when it comes to this sort of shenanigans, but the Republicans are experts at it. They're experts at basically weaponizing the government in order to get their PR out. Because that's all this is, folks. Remember, this is a fucking PR stunt. Because they know that there's not going to be anything that's going to come of it. Let's continue.
Transparency, and this impeachment inquiry is an important next step to deliver transparency, facts, and accountability. We are returning, as I said, from very successful and productive August district work periods where members were able to discuss with their constituents our efforts to deliver on our commitment to America, an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, a future built on freedom, and a government that's accountable.
We could spend some time talking about how Congress has not delivered any of that. The economy is strong despite the Congress. Inaction in the Congress. The economy is strong despite that, right? And make no mistake, they're pissed that it's so strong. Okay? Because they want the economy to fail, because if people are out of work during an election, usually the incumbent loses. So that's what they want. They want the economy to start failing. And it's not. The economy is actually doing not half bad. At least as far as when it comes to things like unemployment and stuff like that. I mean, there's lots of other bad economic indicators out there, inflation, that kind of thing, right? But at least as far as when it comes to like unemployment and like wages are up, unemployment is super low. Unemployment is like really, really low now. Like, what's it at now? I think it might have ticked up a little bit in the last couple of months here, but let's see. Unemployment rate is currently 3.8%. It rose to 3.8%. 3.8% is super fucking low. So I think it was at 3.4 before that in like June and July, which is like incredibly low. Keep in mind the economic miracle, quote unquote, that we saw throughout the Trump years, where they also, the economy is so fucking great, it's so awesome. Unemployment was at like 5.4% all throughout the Trump years. It got really low right before COVID hit, and then it shot way the hell up. shot up to like 18% or whatever. So it is now as low. It was in fact lower than it was pre-COVID. And now it is like hovering right around how it was, like not just pre-COVID, but like lower than the majority of the Trump administration right now. That's really fucking amazing. It's incredibly amazing seeing how we just got out of like a year of like a pandemic and all of these supply chain disruptions and all that happened because of it, and like economic instability because of years of trade wars with China thanks to Donald fucking Trump and all that other shit. And thinking about how all this bad shit is going on, and the economy is like going like gangbusters. That's kind of fucking amazing to me, and it makes me think that we may be in a bubble. But that's a topic for another stream right now. So just keeping all that in mind. But what did Congress do to help the economy recently? What did they do? They didn't. What specifically did not just Congress, but what did the Republicans in Congress do? Did they propose any bills? Did they pass anything? Did they have any legislation that they proposed to get through? No, they didn't do jack shit. Okay. What have they done to keep us safe lately? What have they done to say, here's a good conservative issue that conservatives always run on is border security, right? That's one of their favorite fucking things. Is they always like to bitch and moan about the border. Oh, the border's open, blah, 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 blah. Well, what have they done to secure the border? Have they proposed any legislation? Have they pushed anything through? Are Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, are they getting up every single day saying, here's our bill to strengthen the stupid fucking border? Are they doing anything like that? No, they're not doing shit. They're not doing a goddamn thing. They didn't pass anything when Donald Trump was in office. They put up this ridiculous, idiotic vanity wall that just fell over when the fucking wind blows, that didn't actually do anything. That's their fucking solution. Right? So just keep that in mind. They don't have solutions. I mean, here's the thing. I'm like a progressive, and even I will admit, yes, we have a problem with illegal immigration, because we do. We have a problem with illegal immigration. You know what? But what are they doing about it? What specifically do the conservatives and Republicans, what's their solution? Their solution is like not a solution. You know, what we should be doing about that is streamlining the immigration process, giving people who have been here, who were born here, the ability to become citizens, and making it easier for people to come through the proper channels, and then also doing things to strengthen the economies of the countries where these people are coming from. That's what we should be doing. That's the exact opposite of what the Republicans want to do. The Republicans want to put fucking submachine guns up at the border. They want to build a moat and put piranhas and alligators and shit. That's actually a thing that Donald Trump said, by the way. He wanted to build a fucking moat. I know that sounds like something that's ridiculous. That sounds like fake news, doesn't it? That sounds like some stupid shit that you'd see on, like, Jimmy Kimmel or something, or The Daily Show. But that's actually true. He wanted to build a fucking moat with, like, alligators and piranhas in it. Because he's a moron. Because these people are morons. They don't have solutions. Moving on.
We heard firsthand about the problems facing our communities, including the destructive border crisis that is raging in my home state in New York. Over the August work period, I was proud to lead a...
How did I know she was going to say that? How did I know she was going to say that? I knew she was... I mean, didn't I just say the border, right? I mean, damn. Am I just psychic or something? Or is it rather that Republicans just have 3 or 4 issues that they pull from, and they just say the same stupid shit over and over and over again? I mean, is it like cheating when it comes to these people? I mean, I seriously did not know that she was going to say, we have a border crisis, right? That she was going to pull up. I seriously did not know that. I did not pre-screen this. I haven't watched it before we actually did the stream here. I think I watched like the first 10 seconds of it and then realized I wanted to talk about it. So how did I know she was going to say that? Because that's what they always say. They say the exact same, because they say the same fucking shit over and over and over again. Conservatives, specifically the Republican Party, right? But conservatives in general have like 3 issues that they talk about. They talk about the Second Amendment, they talk about illegal immigration, and they talk about abortion. And that's it. And now they can't talk about abortion anymore because they won on fucking abortion. So now they have to make the other two things that people don't give a shit about seem so fucking important. And that's why they bring it up. The same fucking stupid bullshit over and over and over again, and they never have any solutions for anything. They never talk about healthcare. They never talk about the economy, except when it comes to cutting taxes. That's the only thing they give a shit about when it comes to the economy. But, you know, poor people not having money, homeless people, right? Social Security, Medicare, none of that. They never talk about that shit at all. Ever. They never fucking talk about that stuff, right? They never talk about the environment and how, like, the entire country is being ravaged by hurricanes and floods and shit. There's another hurricane. Now, this time, you know, there was just a hurricane in Los Angeles, for fuck's sake. Then then a week later, there's another hurricane in Miami. Now there's a hurricane in fucking New York, for crying out loud. How many goddamn hurricanes are there going to be? Like, what, 3 in, like, 3 weeks? What are they saying about this? You know, it's pretty obvious that the goddamn climate is changing. What do they have to say about it? What kind of answers do they have for us? Do they have any proposals at all? The Democrats have shit that they want to do. You know, they have the Green New Deal, some other things. Joe Biden actually just passed probably the best, greenest legislation there is, and Build Back Better is probably the best environmental legislation in a generation since like the 70s. What do the Republicans have? And you know, they had to strip most of that shit out that was in the green, you know, in the Build Back Better thing. They had to strip most of that out in order to get like the conservatives on board for it. What are they doing? What's their solution for that? What's their solution to stop pollution, which is fucking destroying people's lives through these storms and floods and fucking wildfires? Do they have any solutions at all? No. Their solution is to impeach the president. That's their fucking solution.
A bipartisan congressional delegation to the Indo-Pacific and spoke with government and military leaders from our key allies and partners in Japan, Singapore, and Thailand about the looming threat of communist China, funding our military and bolstering
the looming threat of communist China. The looming threat of communist China. Communist China is coming for you, folks. Bullshit. Do you guys remember the stupid fucking spy balloon? You guys remember that? About 3 months ago, I think. 3-4 months ago. Everybody in the country shit their pants because there was this evil spy balloon flying over the United States. Remember that shit? Do you know that they've basically investigated it? They scrambled jets to shoot that thing down. And now it's 3 months later, and the General Mark Milley, basically came out on the news and said, you know what? The balloon wasn't spying. He said that there is no evidence that this balloon was transmitting anything. That it had sensors which were not strong enough to actually to gather any significant intelligence. And what was it? It looks like it was basically just like a weather surveying balloon is what it was. That's what it was. It was exactly what the Chinese said it was. I mean, unless he's lying, unless he's saying, oh, this is some kind of national... Because, you know, it's the military. So the military lies about shit all the time because they don't want people to know. Basically, they don't want the enemies to know that they're on to them. So, yeah, maybe it was spying. But according to Mark Milley, like, what reason does he have to lie? Everybody already thinks it's a fucking spy balloon anyway. So... that's the official position. The official position of the United States government is that these spy balloons were not actually spy balloons, and it was just a giant waste of time and money. You know, every time they launch a plane, it's millions of dollars. You know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, every time they launch a plane. They shot a missile at it. How much did that missile cost? What, $40,000? Why did they do this? They did it because Republicans shat their pants like little babies and tried to drum up essentially a war with China. Because all they can do is blame shit on other people. I mean, we should be afraid of communist China. Get the fuck out of here. Got nothing to fucking fear from communist China. Like, at all. And World War III is not going to start with China. Our economy, I mean, if anything has been demonstrated to us over the last 5 years, is that our economies are linked. And they don't need us as much as we need them. If there is an actual war with China, the United States is fucked. Because so much of our economy is dependent upon them that we're screwed. China knows it. It would be the end of the United States if there were actual war. Because we're so interlinked. So much of the shit that we import comes from China that millions of people here, like if we actually ended all trade with China, that's it, the end, gone. Millions of people in this country would lose their jobs. Millions. It would be a Great Depression. Can we win a war in the middle of a Great Depression? No. And they know this. And plus the fact that China's a fucking nuclear power, so there's not going to be a war with them anyway. It's all bullshit. It's bullshit politicking. Like, oh, we're the threat of common. Get the fuck out of here. Because that's how Republicans win. They win when there's fear. And it's the dumbest shit ever. It's like, who actually... Does anybody believe this shit? I don't know. 30 seconds left. Let's just watch the rest. I'm going to shut the fuck up until she's finished talking.
Our defense capabilities has never been more critical. Which brings me to this week on the floor. House Republicans will tackle head-on passing our defense appropriations bill to counter communist China, eliminate wasteful woke programs infiltrating our military at the Biden administration's ordering, and supporting our brave service members with the largest pay raise ever. Today, we are joined by, I'm going to first turn it over to Chairman Jamie Comer for an update on oversight.
All right, that's enough of that shit. So, I hope you people understand the kind of bullshit we're dealing with here. Complete bullshit. Everything she just said was a lie. And here's the big thing that we should remember about all this, is that even if they did, by some miracle, have some kind of evidence of Joe Biden doing some kind of wrongdoing, which I highly fucking doubt they do, but even if they did, there's no way in hell that they will actually impeach Joe Biden. Because you need 60% of the Senate to vote to impeach. There has to be, I think it's more than that. Like, you don't need just 60 senators. I think you need like 70 senators or something like that. You need a shitload of senators. And it's not going to happen. For the same reason why they were unable to convict Donald Trump when they had overwhelming evidence that he broke the law. He should have fucking been impeached and convicted for that Ukraine shit, for using his office in order to get dirt on his political opponent. He should have been convicted for that shit. And he especially should have been convicted for fucking January 6th. Remember, that was the second time they tried to impeach Donald Trump. We're seeing that now. There's evidence up the fucking yin-yang that Donald Trump was guilty of trying to commit a coup d'etat in the United States, for fuck's sake. Over fucking whelming. He may go to prison for that shit. Although it's highly unlikely he will, because all it takes is one MAGA asshole on the fucking jury, and then that's it. Donald Trump walks. So keep that in mind, folks. He's probably not going to get convicted for any of this shit. I mean, if we actually lived in a country of laws, he would. But chances are there's going to be at least one fucking red hat hanging out in any one of these given juries, which is going to help Donald Trump walk. I mean, that's the kind of country we're fucking living in. So, getting back to the point here, the point is that they have zero chance of actually convicting Joe Biden. Zero chance. The whole thing is theater. They're wasting time. They're wasting money. They're putting the basically good faith and credit in the United States at risk for this by focusing on this shit when they should be getting a budget passed. Right? Keep in mind that's still coming. 2 weeks from now, we're going to default and the government will have to be shut down again for like the fucking 5th time in a decade because of these motherfuckers, because they're playing politics, because they won't fucking like get rid of the stupid fucking debt ceiling Notice they only care about spending and the debt when Democrats are the president, when they control the presidency. And then when they control the presidency, they don't give a shit about it, and they just spend like drunken sailors. You ever notice that shit? It's appalling. If you ever needed a reason to be politically active, this is it. They're playing games while the rest of the country is at risk. So just remember that. Just remember that. These people are not patriots. Republicans are not patriots. They don't care about you. They don't care about the country. They don't have solutions. Every single fucking thing they do is to maintain power, to personally enrich themselves and maintain power. That's what fascism is.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.